Hello, welcome again. This is our second round, so to say, debating the Iranian situation. Now we are focusing on the Iranian women in the struggle against the religious dictatorship. We have several key speakers with us, so we are going to analyze what is the role of women in this revolution, what are their struggles. We are also going to talk about youth and the female youth that is making huge efforts and is the backbone of this revolution, not only inside the country but also externally. There's been several uprisings in 2019 and 2021, and the women had a key figure on these uprisings, but they are constantly being smashed or oppressed by the mullah's misogynistic regime, very oppressive regime towards women, but they continue to struggle, they continue to push, they continue to be the backbone of this revolution. And so we are going to talk with several keynote speakers, and it's going to be really, really interesting. We saw that in our first debate. It was really good, it was really interesting, we learned a lot. So I'm just going to introduce our speakers, and then I'm going to pass to Neda so she can make overall understanding of the landscape of what's happening in the Iran. So we'll have Neda Amani from Switzerland on my left here. We have Mrs. Elahe Zabihi here on my right from London. Sorry if I mispronounce it, sorry, but let's go. And we have Mr. Nader Eslami from the Netherlands.
Thank you, sirs.
Yeah. And online we have two wonderful speakers, Mrs. Javdan from Norway and Mrs. Samira Ardalani from Italy. So they will be joining in the end of the debate from online. Hello, we are checking and everything is great. So let's go to Neda so she can explain us the overall landscape, what's happening, what is the role of women, show us the details.
Yes, so thank you very much for having us again, once again, making this very beautiful get-together or discussion possible for the second time. And especially, as you said, about the role of the Iranian women and girls in the resistance inside in Iran. And so I don't want to talk a lot or take a lot of time because we have today beautiful guests here with diverse voices about the women's struggle in Iran over the history, in presence or virtually, as you said. So what happened in the past few months since we talked last time, there was the election. We talked about the elections, and shortly to this topic, there was actually a boycott of these elections. Just about 8% of the Iranian people went to the ballots, so it's not a free election, so it's just a sham election, how we tell them. So, and with this boycott, they showed actually what they want. The people don't want this regime, so they just forced or showed it once again. The role of this regime, what it means for the people, so nothing, right? And then we could observe several events like the Charshambe Suri. Charshambe Suri is the fire festival. It's on the eve, on the last Tuesday of the year. And 1 week later we have the Nowruz, the New Year, the Persian New Year. So on this event, it is typical that the people go outside and put some fires and play fireworks. So the regime couldn't stop the people from going to the streets because it was in their intention to calm the youth down and take them back from the streets. But the people were very brave. The youth went to the streets and danced and put everything on fire and danced around the fire and really celebrated what we aim for the future for Iran, the freedom, freely, women and men together, hand in hand with the families, and shouting no to this regime. And it turned to, in several cities, to uprisings with the slogans against this regime, right? So yeah, that was the observations from the past few months. And maybe we go to the next question. I guess it's
Sure, we can go to
yeah.
Elahe.
No.
Or you just want to?
Yeah. Or no, we
but
can
you-
pass
but
to
you can-
Elahe and then yeah.
Yeah, just.
Okay. So the question was, why does the regime need to start a new round of oppression, and why is it focused on women? This is also, it's nothing new. It's actually a continuation of the 1979 usurped the 1979 revolution. So as I said it before, the Iranian women struggled for 120 years now to get their rights back. And this was while the monarchy and after the 1979 revolution. So it's nothing new, but the suppression is focused more on women because this regime also knows who are the pioneers of these revolutions, right? It's always in history you see the weakest or the most vulnerable people are the biggest victims. So in Iran, it's also the women and the girls. So, but it's nice to see them at the forefront of the resistance. So maybe I will put some thoughts and facts to this while we talk. So I would pass to my friend, and I
Yeah,
will
let's make this fluid. If you
just
feel free to
just jump in.
Yeah.
don't be afraid. On the contrary, we are here to discuss, to debate. There was something interesting that you said that for me it's very relevant. So it didn't start on 79. It didn't start with the mullah regime being installed in Iran. You already had an oppressive dictatorship by the monarchs. So after the coup d'etat on Mossadegh, you have experienced this for a long time. So
Exactly.
you kind of change the regime, but the oppression is always there. And women are always a key factor on this oppression and subversion. And now the Khamenei kind of reinforced this oppression on women. And he also mentioned this in several key debates. And on April 10th, in the end of the Ramadan, so in the Eid al-Fitr sermon, if I'm being correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he kind of reinforced this oppression towards women. He had high-ranking officials being commanded to oppress this uprising of women that are continue to struggle, continue to organize, continue to push for resistance and freedom. And so what does this represent? Why does this oppression is being reinforced by the top religious leaders? And Elahe, if you could talk about us through your lens, your analysis, why are they reinforcing this oppression and focusing on women?
Yes, well, it doesn't surprise me, and I dare say nor the Iranian people. The nationwide boycott of the regime's shams elections to the parliament and assembly of experts showed to the whole world that the Iranian people rejects the ruling regime in Iran. They want change for a democratic republic. So let's remember the facts. One of them is the truth that the current regime in Iran stole the revolution in 1979, the popular revolution. That revolution was for democracy and freedom. But mullahs betrayed people's trust, and they took power by execution, persecution, and oppression. In reality, this religious dictatorship regime, defined by absolute rule of clergy, from the beginning was rejected by the Iranian people. and not then, not today. It doesn't have the support from the people. The popular rejection by the people shown is in their protest and uprising. This is continually happening for the last 40 years, frequently since the end of 2017. And also it's shown in the growth and expansion of the organized resistance, like today led by women. The recent uprising started in September 2022, continues till this day. Like today, the regime and authorities relied on oppression, execution, torture, crackdown, and to crush down the Iranian people's protest and the legitimate demands for self-determination, for a better future, for freedom, for fundamental rights. So in other words, this regime declare Iranian people as number one enemy, because it knows that people desire for democracy, threats their
regime.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, the religious dictatorship. So in other words, this regime from day one has been fighting people's resistance. But people's resistance will continue until this regime is in power. We know this regime uses repression and is like an oxygen for this regime, and without it, it will die. The fundings from the UN Special Rapporteur and also the possible crime against humanity documented by the independent fact-finding mission is a proof of that. So in response to the people's nationwide and widespread protest, this regime has executed more than 860 people just in year 2023. So with the protest confronting his regime in the country, Khamenei has only one solution, and that is to control and suppress Iranian people, especially Iranian women and girls. It has ordered its oppressive authorities to harshly
keep the oppression going on.
Yes, on the people, and it has made officials, he calls them hired agents, be responsible for making sure that the repression is actually carried carefully. So Khamenei wants to control Iranian people, women, especially young girls, because this fighting for freedom, the efforts for the freedom, is actually challenging the authorities of Khamenei. But why women? Khamenei knows by increasing the oppression on women, it will there's a consequences in the country and abroad. But he has no choice but to stop the increasing number of the people and young girls joining the resistance groups and fighting the operations in the country. I can hear something. It's a militia or someone is talking.
Let's continue.
All right. Okay. So where was I?
why women?
Why women?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
targeting
more Iranian girls are joining the resistance groups. These groups have non-stop activities, which is actually happening and threatening the authorities of this regime. Therefore, Khamenei wants to control the Iranian women, but his effort actually is not
Creating the
working
opposite
because,
effect.
yes, exactly. More and more women are now joining the resistance. And in the beginning of this year, the slogan "Women Resistance Freedom" on the city walls, banners in Tehran and other places, shown a strong message of struggle and resistance. It reflects Iranian women desires for freedom and democracy.
Yeah, I would go further also on the debate on that, because I think we have a lot of layers when we are talking about these frontliners,
Yes.
not only in the country but also outside. Nader, if you could reinforce the view on what is the role of these women, of these youth in these revolutions, not only inside but also externally, fighting this regime.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a history of courage, bravery, resilience, determination, enormous personal sacrifices by everyone which is involved in this case. I could talk for days about the role played by the women of Iran, inside and outside, and girls, young girls, even 13-year-olds, to end this dictatorship and establish freedom and democracy in Iran. I could speak about young girls, thousands of them, who supported this opposition, democratic opposition, especially of the PMOI, in the past and today, and they know the risk of their actions. They know when they get caught, they can get executed. And you have to be brave to still go on what you do. And I remember young girls supporting the PMOI in the 80s, who even refused to give their names to the torturers after a demonstration. So the regime killed them by revenge on them, killed them, executed them, put their faces on the papers, and asked their families who they were. So they didn't even know their names. Imagine. It's unbelievable what these people did to our young generation, and especially to women. Things which are really not allowed in Islam, they did in mass to our women. And I remember brave mothers, brave fathers, my own grandmother, who has children who opposed this regime, got caught, got tortured, got executed, but still being resilient. Mothers, 80 years old and older than that. And as a proud participant of this relentless struggle, I'm 43 years old almost, but this struggle is almost now 45 years. And alongside my sisters and brothers, I pay homage. I pay homage to every man and woman, especially the women. I'm sorry.
No, it's
No
okay.
worries.
I'm
It
sorry.
happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I
okay.
that to give you then another thing. But sorry, where was I?
Yes, as a proud
yeah,
participant of the...
I want to pay homage to my aunt, Farah Eslami. I do that every day, almost. And I've got
Nader's aunt.
her picture here. I always carry her close to me.
Yes,
In this
show it
picture,
here?
she's just 19 years old.
you can show it over.
And she was just 25 years old when she got executed in 1988 alongside more than 30,000 others of her comrades. She stood, and I'm glad she did, and all her brothers and sisters did, because of them we have still hope for the future. And the regime's war against Iranian women commenced with the imposition of mandatory hijab in 1979. But the resilience of the women in Iran, including the resilience of the PMOI sisters, defied this decree from the beginning by standing in front of other women without hijab, defending them against the Khomeini's forces. And I do remember a very particular picture of that, of women standing next to each other with their hijab and defending those women behind them who were not having the hijab. And exactly this picture laid for myself, and of course for the rest of the Iranian youth these days, the groundwork, the slogan for this slogan: women, resistance, freedom. And it's not only a guideline. It's not only a slogan now these days. It's a guideline to freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your share. One thing that I always see on these debates and on these conversations is that everyone lost someone very dear to their hearts.
Yes.
And so this is a struggle of survival, but also of imagining and fighting physically with your own existence to install a democracy, a place where people are free to express their views,
Yeah.
Where there's freedom of religion, where women can take their role in the society. On even the management of resources is held by the majority of the citizens, not only to fuel a war machine or a dictatorship and some elite groups of that society. And so I think that's a characteristic that I always see when I'm debating with you. And it's kind of also a message for us Europeans to not take it for granted democracy.
Definitely.
For not undermining the powers of dictatorships and political movements that don't deal well with other opinions, with liberty, with freedom, and with women power. So I think this slogan, women, resistance and freedom, is really in the core of this revolution.
Yes.
And I will pass to Mili to understand what is this slogan and this movement means to you. What are your key message on this debate?
Do you hear me now? Is my
Yes.
okay?
Yes, perfect.
Hello, and thank you for having me here with you. I'm so honored to be able to participate in this debate, and unfortunately I wasn't able to be there in person with you, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and may I thank Neda, Elahe, and Nader for their contributions and insights, mostly the greatest thank you goes to I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, so I do apologize beforehand.
It's fine.
Mr. Guerreiro?
No,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
you lost it completely, but don't worry. No one gets it, so it's fine. It's fine. Just say Francisco.
Thank
It's okay,
you.
Mr. Francisco. It's okay. Just continue.
My
No worries.
apologies.
No, it's fine.
I did try.
Yeah, it's lovely. Don't worry.
But you just mentioned women, resistance, and freedom, and this is actually a very empowering message, and we see this echo throughout Iran, and on walls and in the streets. And the reason for this, the reason I believe this this message to be so very powerful is because it's very specific. It says it all in just 3 words. Women's participations in the resistance will eventually lead to freedom. Because without women, without their participation on leadership levels and any social movement, there will never be a democracy, not a true democracy. There might be a changing of the guards from one class to another, or from one elite to another. But without the participation of women and without their leadership within any movement, there will be no great social change. And the Iranian resistance, especially the leadership of the Iranian resistance, Mariam Rajavi, actually knew this and ushered through reform even within the Iranian resistance for 30 some years ago. She was a visionary back then, a pioneer woman back then, when she ushered in reforms within the Iranian resistance movement, bringing women to the leadership, to the forefront of the resistance, of the struggles for freedom. I was only a little girl back then, and I was searching for identity and for whom to you know, to have as a role model. And I vividly remember Mariam Rajavi from I was a young girl, but I also remember my own mother. My mother is a member of the Iranian resistance. My mother is a brave and courageous woman of the Iranian People's Mujahideen. She's a member of the resistance. And she has always been, she and Mariam Rajavi, my greatest role models, because as an Iranian woman, from I was a young girl, I could see true leadership, true participation, true equality within the Iranian resistance. And this was, this was a vision of a pioneer woman as Mariam Rajavi, knowing fully well back then, 35 some years ago, that women's resistance will lead to freedom. And and she has been, for the last 30 years, making the rest of us believe it. And finally, we have come to the point where the women of Iran believe it too, because this is what we're seeing. I remember only a few years ago, there was whenever Western media used to speak of the achievements of the women of Iran and their struggle for freedom, it was attributed more or less to different, various fractions within the regime. Some saying, oh, because the reformists opened up whatever, civil society, NGO, or whatever, a farce, of course. And then this is the reason why women are achieving great degrees within academia. This is not true. There were these, as Neda actually, she started out this discussion by a historic, putting this women's resistance in a historic context, or whereas women of Iran have been struggling for their freedom in about 120 years. And there has been about 4 regime changes in Iran for the last 120 years. 3 of them by popular uprising, 1 by foreign coup d'etat. And the 3 of them that happened with popular uprising were the only reason why they achieved their goals, even though it was only short-lived, was due to the participation of women, was due to the great participation of women also within the Iranian Revolution of 1979. This is the main reason why the Iranian regime, the misogynist regime of today, they are trying to target women. They're targeting women within, with oppressive means, with their moral police or whatever. They happen to change the names of this, oppressive apparatus from one day to another, but it's the same. It is the exact same thing. It's systematic oppression of women. And but the Iranian resistance has done the exact opposite. They are bringing role models to the forefront. They are showcasing to the women of Iran that if you believe in women, resistance will lead to freedom. There will be freedom for you, but you have to be in the forefront. So this is what we actually witnessed in the uprising from 2017 up to 2022, and it's still ongoing. We are witnessing women taking leadership roles because they do have role models, because there is a history here, stepping stones that led us to what we are witnessing today. And in a historic context, you have to remember that people seem to forget this, unfortunately, but in 1963, the reason why Khomeini actually objected to the dictatorship of the Shah was not because of it being a systematic dictatorship, but no, because of the right to vote for women. But back then, even though women did have the right to vote from 1963, there was hardly anyone to vote for because there were no free elections. So women had as little right to vote or as little freedom as men. And in 1975, when the Shah of Iran, when he actually adopted a family law that benefited women to some degree, and that's the exact same year when he also introduced one-party state. So what we see is their previous regime, the dictatorship of the Shah, was trying to divert the attention of women. The women's movement, their cry for freedom, and try to put them up against other what would you? Let's see. Others that were also fighting for freedom in Iran. They were trying to create strife and internal dispute within the movement that were fighting for freedom in Iran. But they didn't succeed. Back then, the resistance movement against the Shah's dictatorship managed to bring women within the fold of the resistance, and that's what led to the overthrow of the dictatorship of the Shah. So this is exactly what the Khomeini's regime is doing as well. They're trying to, they play fast and loose with the rights of women in order to deceive media, especially in Western countries, but they're also targeting, whenever it suits them, targeting women in order to make sure that they are not able to participate or take on leadership roles or be able in any way to voice their opinions and their opinions against this regime. So I will not take more of your time, but it was important for me to put this discussion within a historic framework and to show that this struggle for freedom in Iran, it didn't come about just today or just for, since 2017. It's been continuous ongoing for 120 years, but that for about 30 some years ago, one pioneer woman with a vision for equality, true equality, put forward the idea of women's resistance will lead to freedom. And that is what we're witnessing, written all over walls in Iran, echoing within the streets of Iran. And it's as an Iranian woman and as a member of this resistance movement, it is of great joy and a sense of pride for me to witness today.
Yes,
Thank you.
And you don't take any of the time. You are here to talk about it,
Yes.
so feel free to express yourself and take the time that you need. And I think it was a key issue that you talked about leadership. And Mrs. Rajavi, we had an event also here in the Parliament last week when she could
championing women's rights.
said she could. You can also develop a bit more on that.
Yes, thank you, Mili, for your words, for your very important brief history, insights of the Iranian history, of the resistance of the Iranian women. As she also said, this resistance or this uprisings, even the past few years, didn't just popped out spontaneously. It's rooted in the history of Iran. So this is one very important fact that everyone should see, and it should be clear. And also one fact, maybe what is really important is that in the Iranian society, it's 27 million of Iranian women who are in the working age are inactive. So it is in the aim of this regime to put them passive, and suppress them, because they know they have the time to go on the streets, and they will, right? So it's a matter of time, and
But Samira can also reinforce that, because
more.
I would like to understand. She's online and she's in Italy. What is the role of the resistant units? What has been the developments on the ground? Obviously, we don't want to know the details because some of them are secrets, and obviously we have to protect those who are in the terrain. But if you could develop what is their push, what is being upgraded also on the resistance in these units, that should be very interesting for us to really understand in the ground what's happening.
Yes, of course. Thank you for this opportunity. Well, resistance units are
Samira,
operating
sorry
through
to
a
interrupt you. If you
clandestine
could put just the camera a bit
camera,
lower, or
yeah.
else we don't see the full
Yes.
face of.
Can I turn it? Because it's actually,
I think so. Try it.
I
Why
should
not?
try it. Okay, just tell me
Yeah,
what
Yes,
happens.
it's perfect.
perfect.
See,
Perfect.
Now it's
leadership,
better?
women
Yes.
leadership.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, the resistance units in Iran, they work through a clandestine network, and they are made up of groups or teams uh, which are composed by 2 or 3 persons, and they can be found in every city, town, and village of the country. They carry out many activities. For example, they write anti-regime graffitis and slogans on regimes buildings and in public places. They tear down or they burn pictures, banners, and symbols of the Iranian regime's leaders. And what is important is that these activities actually show the people that the regime does not have an iron grip on the society, and that it is possible to resist the oppression and the regime's repressive measures. And another important message that their activities throughout the country bring is that unity is the key for success. And this is very important because currently, especially now, the regime is doing everything in its power to divide Iranians inside, both inside and outside the country, in order to prevent more uprisings in the future. Another key role played by the resistance units is they mobilize, mobilize the people, they expand and advance the uprising in Iran. The more recent, more evident example of their activities is the campaign they launched and led in order to boycott the Iranian regime's sham elections, the campaign that Neda talked about before. And another important point is that these resistance units are actually part of what is the democratic alternative to this regime. It is really important to say that the regime does wants everyone to think that there is no alternative, and most of its campaigns focus on discrediting the democratic opposition. So as to confuse Westerners and convince them, lead them to the conclusion that this regime is really bad, that there is no alternative, so we will have to stick to the mullahs forever. Actually, this is not the truth. The people have been standing against the regime, and they have been resisting for, we have actually seen, the speakers have already explained it, for more than 45 years. I'm now focusing on the resistance against the current regime, the mullahs regime. And even before that, they were resisting and fighting against the Shah dictatorship until it was overthrown. And what happened when Khomeini stole the People's Revolution actually showed us that we do not only need to overthrow the dictatorship, we also need to have a democratic alternative in order to fill the political vacuum. If not, another dictatorship may steal again the Iranian People's Revolution. The alternative of the National Council of Resistance of Iran was established in 1981 and was established because of this precise reason, and this alternative has been widely supported by the people. And we are talking about a coalition that has been working together and resisting for more than for decades. The platform of the NCRI is based on founding principles, such as the need to establish a democratic republic based on the separation of religion and state, the abolition of death penalty, equal rights for men and women, the respect of minorities' rights, the need for a non-nuclear Iran. And all these points can be found in Mariam Rajavi's 10-point plan, which was actually written years ago. And it is also really important to underline that this resistance does not receive economic support from any foreign government or any foreign party. Do not misunderstand me. All movements need funds, but the NCRI represents its own people, and experience has shown that whenever foreign governments come forward to offer financial support, they demand in return that their demands and interests be respected. So the focus of the National Council of Resistance of Iran is defending Iranian people's rights and Iranian people's interests. The NCRI has chosen the most difficult, but also a very principled and correct path. And of course, it has been a long fight. It has not been easy. It will not be easy, but will definitely lead us to the goal of freedom and democracy.
Yeah, that's why we are all here, and it's been a struggle for decades. We still have more or less 15 minutes, I would say. So we'll probably have, and I think this worked really well in the first debates. If all the speakers could have like 2-3 minutes to speak in Persian or in a language that they feel that will reach the community that is fighting inside Iran, I think that's amazing. Although I will not understand the words, I think it's really relevant for you to speak your language and to freely express the message that you want that people listen, or that will listen to you. So feel free, Neda, to start.
Yes, thank you. I would give the word first to our friends invited today for the first time. So, because I did it last time, and
you'll do it again. So
I will do it again. No worries. But I'm looking forward to hear the messages of.
Feel free to use 2-3 minutes to talk in your native language.
Okay. You want me to start in?
Yes, in Persian. You can just
start
give a
and
message.
finish in Persian to those who listen to you.
درود میفرستم به کانون‌های شورشی و اگر که این برنامه رو تماشا میکنید خدا قوت بهتون میگم و خیلی خوشحالیم که شما رو داریم و خیلی خوشوقت هستیم که همچین مقاومتی داریم و سمیرا خیلی قشنگ توضیح داد کار شما رو، ولی واقعا فعالیت‌های شما رو که می‌بینیم واقعا تحسین برانگیزه. و آخرش هم میخوام بگم زن مقاومت آزادی.
خیلی ممنون. مرسی. Nader, if you want to continue.
تنها چیزی که من به مردم ایران میخوام بگم اینه که باور کنید این رژیم موندنی نیست. تنها راه مقاومت که هر چیز زودتر این رژیم رو سرنگون بتونیم بکنیم مقاومت آتش بر علیه آتش. کانونهای شورشی استراتژیک رو شروع کردن و انشالله هر چیز زودتر این کار رو تمام خواهیم کرد. این کارزار بزرگ آزادی. امیدتون رو نگه دارین و نه فقط امید، باور داشته باشین. باور داشتین تو به قدرت توان خودتون، تک به تک خودتون، و مطمئن باشین با کمک رهبران واقعاً بی‌نظیر مثل خواهر مریم و برادر مسعود چیزی نیست به جز آزادی در مسیر جلوی ما. درود و به امید دیدار در یک تهران آزاد.
مرسی.
ایران آزاد.
ایران آزاد.
Mili, do you want to add your message?
صدامو داری؟
بله.
من هم درود میفرستم به کانونهای شورشی و دلاوران ملت ایران و بالخصوص به زنان کانونهای شورشی که شما باعث شرف و افتخار همه ایرانیان هستین و همونطور که مریم رجوی 30 و خورده سال پیش گفتن و مجاهدین در عمل به اثبات رسوندن و الان شما هم دارین در ایران این رو به اثبات میرسونین، اینه که بدون رهبری زنان، بدون شرکت زنان در رهبریت این مقاومت امکان نداره این ایران آزاد بشه و به همین خاطر شما باید بدونین که بدون شما ما اصلا امکان نداره به آزادی برسیم و به همین خاطره که من دستبوس تک تک شما هستم و بدونین که ما تمام تلاشمون رو میکنیم که صدای شما در خارج از کشور باشیم. درود فراوان به تمام دلیران کانونهای شورشی.
خیلی ممنون میلی.
مرسی.
سمیرا.
با سلام و تشکر از فرصتی که به من دادید. میخواهم اول از همه چیز به قهرمانان کانونهای شورشی درود بفرستم، به ویژه به دختران و زنان که موتور محرکه قیام هستند. ما تا روز استقرار، آزادی و دموکراسی در میهن عزیزمان تمام تلاشمان را خواهیم کرد تا که پیام شما رو به گوش جهانیان برسانیم. زن، مقاومت، آزادی.
درود. خیلی ممنون. Thank you very much, Samira. So
It's your turn.
I will add my message now. So خیلی ممنون. منم از سهم خودم به تک تک بچه‌های خواهران و برادرانم در کانونهای شورشی میخوام سلام برسونم و افتخار ما هستیم، ما جوانان، ما زنان، ما دختران اینجا در غرب و همینطور که دوستان عزیز منم گفتن ما بدون شما این بیرون کاری نمیتونیم بکنیم. ما صدای شما رو به تمام جهان میرسونیم و بذارین از این فرصت هم استفاده کنم که همینطور که امروز تو این بحث هم صحبت کردیم در مورد تاریخ ایران و افتخار ما یا این مقاومت روی خون شهدان این راه ادامه دارد و درود بر تک تک شهدا، درود بر هزار زن پر افتخار اشرف که مشعلدار و پیش روی راه آزادی، راه مقاومت، راه مبارزه ما جوانان هستند. ما افتخار میکنیم که اینطوری مقاومتی رو داریم با رهبری خواهر مریم و برادر مسعود و کانونها. مطمئنم که به زودی به آزادی میرسیم دست به دست هم به امید پیروزی.
میتوان و باید.
میتوان و باید. Thank you.
No, you don't have to thank me. It's lovely to listen to your language. Although I just understood two words, Iran,
Yeah.
Javi, and Mujahideen.
Yeah.
Three words.
We're getting there.
But it's lovely to listen to Persian here in the House of the European Democracy. And we are here also, and my role and our role as MEPs is to continue to help you in this struggle for democracy, open democracy, where women have their role, where women are and will continue to be the backbone of the society. And thank you again for us to be here and for sharing your message. It's very important, and I always underline this, that you talk in your native language so you can reach those who are struggling in your country. And Neda, if you want to close.
Yes, thank you again for this possibility to talk. And I forgot before to thank also for your speech last week at our event, which we held here about the championing for women's rights in Iran. So thanks again for your tireless efforts for the Iranian people. I think I would like to quote a little paragraph from the speech of Mariam Rajavi, her speech from the Women's Day, 8th March. I think it would be a good closure when if I can quote her. She said, "It is impossible to combat religious tyranny without unleashing the immense energy of pioneering women and men. A progressive movement aiming to challenge religious tyranny must comfort the reactionary ideology, which is rooted in gender classification and debilitating egoism and prioritizes individual interests over the collective interests. It is imperative that such a movement rejects all traces and elements of this ideology in both its philosophical outlook and interactions. So, for equality to be realized, it is crucial to abandon reactionary and objectifying views of women. Rather, we should foster a culture and engage in interactions where women are seen as independent, not reliant on anyone else. Women must not be seen as possessions, but as independent, capable of steering their own demands and leading the world to a better future." So I think that are good words to close this, that we wish all my friends here today, as you and Mr. Guerreiro, for the future for Iran, that women can join political leadership and can choose their own freedom for, we will see, for a democratic, secular future of Iran.
For sure, they are playing a huge role. We see it here also on the European Parliament and on the resistance units. And let me just contextualize that in the debates, I also stated that in my house, I'm the only man. So I have my wife, I have 2 daughters, I have 2 female cats.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to adopt a female dog.
Yeah.
And we are also in the process of adopting a 3rd female kid. Obviously, women had a huge role in my life. My biggest example in my life was my mother. So she was a biologist. She fought for the civil revolution in Portugal also. She was one of the first women to go to university. She got independence at 18, so she had some capability of the parents to help her on the studies. But she left and she said, "I'm going to pay for my studies." And so she's a role model. I think all of us have our female role models as aunts, mothers, sisters, kids. And so I think we should continue to struggle and to fight for their future. And as it seems, it's going to be bright. We're going to pass from some difficult times. There's no revolution that doesn't have these difficult times, but I'm sure
without paying the price.
let's hope that it comes faster and without real violence. But we are here to help you without any preconditions. So the only conditions is for you to be free, to be united, and to have a secular Iran where we can all go and visit the wonders of your country.
Yes.
We can't wait till we can invite people like you.
My only conditionality
To our
is
free
for me
country.
to prove vegan food in your country. That's the only thing. The
Vegan
rest,
food for you. All right.
No problem.
So thank
so
you
thanks again, and
Yeah.
see us
Thank you very much.
probably in the 3rd debate. We never know.
Yes. Thank you
you very
also
much.
you guys
Thank
for
you.
joining
Thank you very
us.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice.